They lived and worked together and were very satisfied with their life, and they lived together in harmony.
Life was great until one day a band of pigs moved to town. These were no ordinary pigs, but a band of sneaky, conniving pigs. The pigs conspired together and stole the precious eggs from the colony of birds. When the birds noticed that their eggs were gone, a change occurred. They were no longer happy and content. They became angry birds.
Look, angry birds.
The angry birds met together to devise a plan to retrieve their eggs from these menacing pigs. After discussing many different tactics, they decided to build a giant slingshot. They knew that many of their own lives would be at risk, but it was a chance the birds were willing to take. Meanwhile, the pigs began to fortify themselves. While they prepared, the pigs began to chant.
Poached egg, boiled egg.
Sit down if you don't want to go home. Sit down nice and watch the show. You go home. You can go home.
The pigs knew that an attack by the birds could come at any minute. Patiently, they waited. They did not have to wait for very long. The angry birds began their assault. They readied their first missile. The birds pulled him back in the slingshot and released him. The bird flew through the air and crashed into the pigs' fort. Some of the pigs were lost, but part of the fort still stood. The birds took careful aim and sent their next missile flying through the air. This time, the birds destroyed the rest of the fort and the pigs that were guarding it. However, the eggs had been moved. The pigs were more clever than the birds had anticipated.
While the pigs rebuilt their fort, the sound of their working drifted through the forest.
birds discovered the next fort. This fort seemed to be a little bit stronger. Carefully, the birds took aim. The fort still stood, so they aimed again. Still, the fort stood. Again, they fired. At last, the fort was destroyed, but the eggs were gone. The pigs had cleverly escaped again. They rebuilt their fort, bigger and stronger. As they worked, they began to taunt the birds. Hearing this taunt from the pigs, the birds became even more furious. The birds knew that it was just a matter of time before their eggs would be in grave danger. They feared that their eggs would not last much longer in the company of the pigs. As the birds prepared for battle once again, they began to sing a song of their own.
He's got to go to the back.
They lined up one by one and readied themselves for battle. The pigs were not worried. They had already withstood 2 attacks without being defeated. What the pigs didn't know was that the birds had a secret weapon. They had appealed to the mighty eagle. The birds began to assault the pig fort. One by one they sailed through the air. First the red and yellow birds. Then the blue, black, and white birds. Finally, it was the mighty eagle's turn. and destroyed the last bit of the pig's fortification. He found the missing eggs, and there was much rejoicing. The birds celebrated the return of their eggs, but promised themselves that they would not forget their battles with the pigs. Even today, you can hear the birds singing their Angry Bird song.
Here, just in time, I tried that.
Hello, everyone.